So things went a bit crazy, but I'm jumping ahead. Let's go back to where the last episode ended. We had lost Green, and Beep was in severe shock from losing both his legs, and we were in the middle of the black desert, surrounded by acid rain and deadly security spider robots. We looted the facility, while back home we began construction of small shacks for fuel generators and for a designated prison. Beep would need to remain here while we finish the scouting mission. We'll pick him up on the way home. He'll hopefully be awake by then, and that he doesn't get too much of a fright when he sees that he's mechanical from the waist down. We continued to bump into the odd security spider, but they weren't too dangerous by themselves. We found the next nearest ancient facility, but it was guarded by broken skeletons. We decided not to fight them for now. They mounted their crossbows as we approached, so we circled away from them. Eventually, we could see flames in the distance. It was Black Desert City, home to the skeletons. The Black Desert City was a refuge for skeletons, a place safe from humans. The skeletons that lived here were sane, but they were quite depressed with their isolation. We still had PTSD from these things. In the corner of the bar, we met Sadniel. He was a skeleton who had become depressed with the longevity of his life and had lost all hope. But we managed to convince him to join us, and hopefully we'll give him hope again. We now had 3 skeletons, Burn, Agnew and Sadniel. Back home, we were working on a secondary power source, generators. We would need to create a fuel for the generators, and we were going to use wheat straw. For now, we only have the small generators, but we'll unlock the larger ones soon. We could also begin the interior of the prison. Back in the Black Desert City, we bought a new scout leg for Beep. This would increase his run speed. The skeletons here had a very large stock of very high quality equipment. We then headed over to the scrapyard, which was a kind of shop. It sold some of the highest quality equipment that we had ever seen. They also had some very good blueprints, such as toppers, but we had limited money, so we couldn't go on a spending spree. After a few cactus rums for our fallen comrades, we decided we would continue east and search the way station before heading back for Beep. On the road, Sadniel lamented over the past. In the desert, we also got to see a bit of Argu's personality. The way station had very little other than food. Now we would head back for Beep. He should be waking up soon. As we approached, Beep began to wake up. We were reunited at last. Well, most of us. It was time to head home. On the route home, we ran into a large group of starving bandits, and they decided to try and fight us. The more time Beep and Argu spent together, the stranger they became. It seems Beep was quite happy with his new mechanical legs, as it made him more like Argu. But we have no time to stand around and play. We need to get back. Just over the ridge, and we were home at last. The new prison was a vast improvement from some cages on a roof. Beep decided to test how fast he could run. His current speed was 50 miles per hour, and he probably planned to try and get faster. Well, if we ever need to get from A to B quickly, we know who to use. The Thrall Masters were useful martial arts partners for the Wanderer. Skeletons are very robust, so they're difficult to bring down. The only problem would be getting them in a skeleton bed to fully recover their hit points, if we continued to beat them up all the time. We needed more and more power, so we added small wind turbines. We'd also began making chainmail and could begin to replace our leather underarmour. We would research better generators. These bigger generators would help us continue to have power when the wind stopped. We had to travel for the green fruit to be able to build them, but eventually we were able to build the hydroponics green fruit farms, allowing us to make Gohan when combined with rice. And Gohan has the highest nutrition of all food. To be able to continue to train martial arts more easily, we kind of wanted a secluded place away from allies who would come and help, so we would have to build our prison in a secluded area. We could make this prison far more secure. When finished, this would be known as the fort. In New Hope, we could break down this one, as we wouldn't be able to train here without our allies coming to the fight. We needed somewhere a little bit more secluded up on the mountain. We could also build layers of walls to prevent escapes, as this place would hold some of the most dangerous beings known. In order to run these extra facilities, we were going to need more recruits. We found Mayu, who had a special ability to detect spiders when they were near. As well as Mayu, we hired a hive prince called Bongo. They had a lot of training to do to be able to survive the kinds of excursions that we go on, so for now they were in training. Mayu was soon able to show us her extra sense at being able to detect spiders when they were near. And so, their stories begin. Griffin had began to be able to make edge Type 1 blades, and he'd done so with a topper, which he then gave to Rixie. It was a hell of a blade. With weapons like these, we might be able to go further and further into the unknown. Sadnil, by himself, finished building the first version of the prison. For now, we had few prisoners, but that would no doubt grow over time. We'd continue to improve the prison over time, making it more and more secure. We'd also need a special group to defend it. Griffin managed to make an Edge Type 1 katana. He then gave it to Kyle. Kyle had still been using the Mark III ninja blade he bought from the Shinobi ninjas a long time ago. Time for another excursion. This time we would head north. We would first head to Mongrel and then we would head north from there. We were confident in our skills, our equipment and our numbers. We were taking the majority of our force for this excursion. This was our first encounter with cannibals near the Hiver territory. They were quite scrawny and they weren't much of a match for us at all. They were dealt with quite easily. We continued north into the mist. We soon noticed the fogmen were following us. Given our numbers and equipment and skill, we had very little trouble with the fogmen. We soon arrived in Mongrel. Here we were able to purchase blackened chain tangle must, and then we continued on the road north. We ran into a fogman prince and he managed to hold off our attacks for quite some time, but eventually we beat him, and we took his head as a prize, a highly valued prize. We continued into some small foggy crater. There was no longer fogmen here, instead it was a kind of skeleton graveyard. The crater was full of giant dead skeletons. In the mist, we eventually found an ancient facility. We would, of course, be searching it. We had noticed security spiders patrolling the area, so we expected the facility to hold some. We prepared ourselves to face them. Our old nemesis. We handled the security spiders quite well. We had some injuries that we needed to heal, but the facilities were ours for the taking. It wasn't the greatest haul we'd ever had, but it all adds up, and we were going to continue to search north for more facilities if possible. We'll pack up the sleeping bags, and then we'll look for a northern exit to this crater. It soon got quite windy. It was then we noticed a naked man was tailing us. He was shouting something, but it didn't make any sense. We stopped to see what would happen. And thus ensued a battle that would go on for days. Every time we defeated a group, another group would appear. We didn't have time to wonder why naked people were running around the forest with cleavers attacking people. We simply had to fight. Despite our numbers, despite our skill, and despite our equipment, we were slowly but surely beaten down by 1,000 cuts. Sadnil was dying, and Byrne had to save him, by giving up his own defence in doing so. We were defeated. Our goal now was to survive. The process of surviving this was a long, hard one, as they would keep coming and they would keep finding us. We would have to fight for every inch of escape. Not all hope was lost. Logan was on his way with a group of mercenaries to help us, and he also brought much needed food. But he had to hurry as the Shrieking Bandits would continue to find us. We refused to let these wild, naked bandits defeat us. We would defeat them. Logan was here, but he'd lost his mercenary company somewhere. We'd have to go looking for them. It seems they'd ran into the Shrieking Bandits en route. We had to save them. We managed to pull back towards a hive village, but here we ran into cannibals again. These cannibals tried to kidnap some of the mercenaries with us, but we stopped them. After dispatching with the cannibals, we headed to the hive village, where we were able to buy some fish for food. We also sold a lot of the items we were carrying, including the Hive Prince head and much materials from the ancient facilities. We set up a camp near the village to be able to rest our wounds. Hanbu had lost his arm in the battles, but Beep suggested that he could get him an arm very quickly from a guy he knew in Mongrel. Travelling at 50 miles per hour, Beep could get there and back before we'd even known he was gone. Hanbu thanked Beep, and now we were going to push north, through the naked bandits. We'd set up small field hospitals away from the battles so we could pull out our wounded when we needed to. This was going to be a long, grueling battle. we managed to push through and make it north into the Purple Sands Desert. It was very quiet here. We found what we were looking for, another ancient facility, a place to camp and rest. The hall here wasn't the best, but we found engineering research, which was very needed. The mercenaries who had helped us, or what was left of them, ended their contract and began the long walk home. May Okran give them speed. We found a masterwork ranger bow, and Logan had more than earned it. Those damn naked bandits found us here, but there was only one group. We took some rest, and then we were going to have to head south and try and get home. And the fastest way was the way we came. We could see that Shek berserkers had begun to fight the Shrieking Bandits. We would let them fight, and we would swim.